The following presentation has been brought to you by HSF Productions.
The Impromptu Wrestling Podcast with your hosts, Jeff and David.
Hey guys, welcome back to IWP, the Impromptu Wrestling Podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Tally006. Over to my left, as always, is my brother Damien. How's it going this week?
It's been a really good week, and the school year is almost, or the semester is almost done. I am totally pumped, and I'm ready to talk some wrestling this Friday evening.
You don't want to talk about marking assignments or anything like that?
No, that'll just, that's like talking vanilla brand right there. I don't want to do it.
Just quickly before we get into the show, I mean, it should be mentioned, we are currently recording our 40th episode of the Impromptu Wrestling Podcast. I just feel like we need to give ourselves a little pat on the back. You know, this was a dream, a whisper of a dream many months ago at the beginning of the year. I never thought that this would actually come to fruition, and we'd be 40 episodes in and still going strong. So I just want to, just acknowledge that we've been doing this for 40 episodes. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, and we've come a long way for those of you that have been there from the very beginning. And yeah, Corey, I'm talking about you. Hopefully you're seeing some improvement, and I'm having more fun than ever.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it's got to be said, when you compare the quality, especially audio quality of our show compared to some of these professional podcasts, I mean, we are leaps and bounds ahead of a lot of professional podcasts that I've listened to. So, I mean, I think we're doing it right.
Yeah, the hours of audio engineering teaching ourselves is paying off.
Yeah. Shout out to Udemy for teaching me how to use compressors and equalizers.
Yeah, no doubt.
With that all being said, let's talk about this week's show. I think we have a great show. I feel like it's going to be a quicker show this week, but every time I say that, we still hit that 2-hour mark. But we'll see what we get into. But we have a few pieces of breaking kayfabe to talk about. BTE, AEW Dark as always, and another really great episode of AEW Dynamite. But with that all being said, let's get into breaking kayfabe. All right, so I mean, a pretty common staple for us on Breaking Kayfabe is the hashtag All Elite. We have a couple of confirmed signings this week for AEW, that being Miss Jade Cargill. I almost said Cartel for some reason. I've been playing too much Grand Theft Auto. Miss Jade Cargill and the high flyer himself, Matt Sydal. I'm just gonna ask you, like, what do you think of these two signings? Give me some words of what you think of these two.
I think Matt Sydal's a no-brainer. The guy has experience. He's well respected. So, yeah, how could they not try to lock this guy up? And awesome that they did. The Jade Cargill is we haven't really seen what she can do yet. She's good on the camera. I think she's going to be a good character. But, can she wrestle? Is she going to be a wrestler? Is she going to be more of a valet? Who knows? So I do know, I looked her up on her Twitter. It seems like she's like a fitness model of some kind. So that's kind of her background. So I don't know how she's going to fit in here. So I'm not convinced yet, but it's looking very promising.
Yeah, she happened to be the focus of the AEW Unrestricted podcast this week. Episode came out on Thursday. I decided to listen since I've been absolutely captivated with this woman the last couple last couple months, really, ever since she appeared ringside on AEW Darks and Dynamites. She is training to be a wrestler. She was part of she's part of a school, and then since joining kind of the AEW fold, she's been working out at the Nightmare Factory, closely being worked with Dustin and QT. The way she talks about these two and how they've been coaching her, they would never let her on TV without having some confidence that she could pull it off. So it sounds like she's, made leaps and bounds. She is very green, much like Anna Jay. She's less than a year into the business. So it like you said, it's yet to be seen if she's going to be able to perform as a wrestler. But it sounds like Dustin's really protecting her, much in the ways that we felt like Nyla Rose should have been protected. Like she talks about how she's not going to be doing top rope stuff. She's a big, tall, strong woman. So she's going to be, performing like that big, strong type character in the ring. And it sounds like Dustin's really protecting that fact. So I'm actually really excited to see, once we finally get to see her in the ring, how that all translates on screen. So I don't know. I'm super hyped for Jade. Like you said, she looks the part. She looks like a superstar. She just radiates off the screen. That promo, I mean, honestly, was her first appearance on TV. So the fact that it was a little shaky, makes sense. It's your first time on TV. I'm sure her heart was pounding 1,000 beats per minute, but the fact that she did it as smoothly as she did, I think it's very, very promising. I'm excited for Jade.
Yeah, and then her appearance this week, I thought was really, really good, even though she didn't really have a speaking part in it. It was a really good segment of the show. So yeah, I just want to see her wrestle.
Yeah,
I'm sure she's going to be great. I don't know that, besides maybe like at China, have we seen someone, a woman wrestler with this type of physique? Like she has an 8-pack, like she's just ripped. So
it's funny you mentioned China, because in that AEW Unrestricted, Aubrey asks, like, who were your influences as a child? And Aubrey didn't even finish the question, and Jade said China. I saw China. I was always bigger than the boys in school. I was always muscular, and I was shamed for it. And it was China who embraced that body style. It made me proud to be who I was. So it's funny that you mentioned China, because that is her biggest influence, as she said. So yeah, I think she's going to do well in her role. I really do.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting to watch the beginnings and how she's going to grow, just like Anna Jay, like you mentioned.
Yeah, for sure. Just to quickly note on Matt Sydal, I completely agree with what you said there. It was a no-brainer. You got to lock this guy up. He's a vet of the business, been doing it for like 15 years at this point. One of those high flyers. I mean, we haven't really talked about Matt Sydal in length since his debut at All Out. But he hasn't attempted that shooting star press since the slip on the ropes, and I like it. He's teased it a couple times. He's been on the top rope. I just wanted to acknowledge that I think this is, nothing goes by the wayside with AEW. Everything is thought out, and I think this is a purposeful thing that he hasn't gone for that shooting star press again. And when he hits it, it's going to be huge, I think. I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, I think if he even still, if they keep going with this Michael Nakazawa, you know, like, let's say he's going to tease it like he's going to go up, but then he looks over and Michael Nakazawa is standing there with a big smile, then, you know, he gets down. Like, that would just be awesome stuff.
That'd be a good dark spot. But I guess they had their blow off. Like Matt Sydal and Michael Nakazawa had their dark match, I guess, right? A few weeks ago. So
okay. Yeah.
Maybe that feud's over, but I do like that spot. That's cool. In other breaking kayfabe news, PWI, Pro Wrestling Illustrated, we've talked about them in the past. Jon Moxley being named the #1 wrestler according to PWI this year. They've put out their inaugural Pro Wrestling Illustrated Tag Team 50 list, which is some big news. Topping the list this year is FTR, despite their loss to the Young Bucks at Full Gear. Let's just talk about this really quick. Do you think FTR was deserving of this spot, considering what PWI considers, you know, in their, you know, their criteria and putting together these lists? Do you have any thoughts on FTR being #1?
I mean, I don't think it's bad, because I think they're a really good tag team. The only thing that I guess I'm a little bit off of is, like, did they wrestle enough this year? Because didn't seem like they were really involved in Vanilla Brand, and then they've come here and I don't know, what do they have? Maybe 8 matches under their belt. So I don't know. That'd be the only thing, is just had they performed enough. But, you know, they deserve to be close to the top, if not #1.
Is exactly my thoughts. Like, exactly my thoughts. Like, when you consider what the criteria they go through in their top 500 list, like, to me, FTR do they make the top 50? They've really only worked, what's their record right now in AEW? Like 11-1. They've only worked 12 matches this year, but maybe because it's the inaugural top 50 list, they kind of just did the whole spectrum of current tag teams and, you know, who had the biggest name value just as an inaugural one. And then, you know, as they do it year from year, then they'll really get into the criteria. Maybe that's what it is. With that being said, I totally think that they're deserving of this top spot. You know, a lot of people might think the Young Bucks, but as we'll talk about a little bit later, I mean, when you make mistakes like the one I'm gonna bring up a little bit later, I'm gonna try not to be too ranty about it, but you can't call yourself the best tag team in the world making mistakes like this. But that's a little teaser for later. But congratulations to FTR for being named the first ever inaugural #1 tag team top 50 list. I think that's really cool.
Real quick here, maybe we should just note the other AEW tag teams that made the top 10. #2 is Kenny Omega and Adam Page, which is kind of funny considering they're not really a tag team.
But I mean,
they were
killed
this
it
year.
this year. Yeah, they were this year.
Then #7 is the Lunch Brothers.
Yeah.
So a lot of teams here in between there, mostly WWE, Street Profits, Golden Role Models. I didn't even know that was a tag team. That's Golden how
Role Models.
Bailey and Sasha. Is that what they go by?
Oh, I've never heard that.
Yeah,
I don't watch Vanilla.
And that's the only 3 from AEW in the top 10. Even Kari Sane, Kabuki Warriors made it. Oh, they're not even a team anymore.
I mean, it should be mentioned that I think it's really cool that they added women's tag teams as part of this list. And that,
Yeah, for sure.
you know, 2 of them being in the top 10. I'm assuming Kabuki Warriors were part of the top 10 there too. Like that's awesome. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. It's a pretty good list. I think they made some right choices here based on what I'm seeing.
So what you're saying is the Young Bucks were not in the top 10.
They were not in the top 10.
Were they in the top 50?
I'm only seeing a top 10 list here.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool.
So
We'll report on it next week.
Introduce the next segment. I'll see if I can find it.
All right. With that being said, let's get into this week's Being the Elite. All right. This was episode 230, Trent versus Silver. And when I saw this name of this episode, I mean, I flashed back to last week's episode of IWP, and I'm like, so what's going to happen with the BTE Championship now? Like, are they just going to go to just random singles competitions and in some really weird type games and different competitions of that sort? And sure enough, that's exactly what we're going to get. Trent's putting the BTE title on the line against Silver, and as we see in the last segment of the show, it's water bottle flipping. And I was just like, all right, this is what it's going to be. That's exactly what we thought it might be, and yeah, they're just going with it. What did you think of this the way they're going to handle the BTE Championship?
I like it, and I don't know how they're doing this, who's coming up with the ideas and whatnot, but I really felt like it was these guys who were tasked with, Trent, you need to pick your next competitor, or it needs to be, Silver, but you guys figure out like what you want to do in order to, kind of get the segment over. And it almost seemed like this was Silver's idea because he was like a master at it.
Yeah, he hit 3 for 4, right?
Yeah, like it was crazy good. Yeah, no, I like this segment. I hope maybe not do it every episode, but do it enough that it's gonna kind of keep it fresh. What did you think about it?
I mean, I agree with everything you said there. I really like how they handled this. I like that they did it right away, especially considering Trent was a little hesitant in even accepting the BTE Championship in the first place. He really didn't want it, and he mentions it again today. But yeah, I think they have 101 ways that they can handle this championship, and yeah, I really do believe that it's really up to whoever's in the spot at that time. I think they have a golden, like, I mean, I mentioned it what was it, like 3 weeks ago, going into this triple threat Gator Golf matchup for the actual championship. Before we ever saw it, I was just like, if this is a work and they really want to milk this for all it's worth, they need to give the belt to Silver, because it opens up 1,000,001 ways to do this. So now that Silver's got the belt, I mean, he can just challenge his own friends. It could be fixed for him to keep it. When other challengers start coming in, he can dodge them because it's the Dark Order. Like there's so much that you can do with this. And then when it actually comes down to actual defenses, I mean, you can do anything. The whole AEW locker room is into video games. Like, we could be seeing freaking Mario Kart races for the BTE champion. Like, I want to see that. Mortal Kombat. I want to see that. Like there's just tons of things. They could play darts. I bet none of them has ever thrown a dart before. They could play pool. They could go bowling. Like I love what they're doing here. It's so much possibility for entertainment here.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that you can include, everyone in the roster, just kind of how, like we saw, was it on BTE where, no, sorry, it was Dynamite, I think, where Miro and Kip are playing video games and then Leva comes in. Was that Dynamite?
No,
I can't even remember.
That was BTE.
Was it? Okay.
Dark. It was dark. I think it was dark.
I'm getting them all mixed up now. It's been a bad
There's
week for
so
me.
much content out there right now.
So yeah, you can put anyone in there. It's going to be such a good part of the show. I can't wait for them to continue it.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about some other spots of this show. We had another really long cold open into this episode. Alex Reynolds and John Silver trying to recruit Frankie Kazarian. I liked how this started out, and Silver and Reynolds kind of doing their shtick, and then Kazarian completely calling them out on it from the beginning and really getting into Kazarian's character on BTE. But then it just drags and it drags and it drags, and then I tuned out of it. And then finally the BTE credits roll, and I'm like, holy shit, I've been watching this for like 10 minutes already. The episode's just starting. So, I mean, I liked how it started, but yeah, it did go a little long for me, this cold open.
Yeah, and it's crazy how we can add Frankie Kazarian to the list of AEW wrestlers that watch our show, as he was given Silver the gears about his conduct on last week's episode, where he's talking about stinky asses and things like that. So the segment was cool. It went a bit long.
Yeah, for sure. One thing I do want to bring up, and I meant to bring it up a couple weeks ago when this new character was kind of introduced on BTE, but actually I think it might have been Dark where we first get to see this new character. But Peter Avalon, after losing his matchup with Brandon Cutler, we kind of seen this transformation, and I can't help but be reminded of like the Continental SNL skit with Chris, is it Christopher Walken? Is that his name? Christopher? That sounded weird coming out of my mouth. His name's Christopher, really? But with Christopher Walken, and he would be like, he'd open up the hotel room, he'd be like, oh, hello, come in, and he would try to schmooze the camera because the camera's like his date. And Peter Avalon kind of did that first week, and I just like how he's kind of adopting this new kind of trying to be suave, but it's almost failing to his own fault to the extreme. I like where that's going. And then we get to see it again today where Arthur and Trevor show up, the guys with the hands in the camera, and you son of a bitch, those guys. And they end up sitting down and having some drinks with Peter, and they get fucked up. I thought this was a really entertaining bit. Like I said, I'm really excited about Peter Avalon's new character and adding these guys to it. It was just gold. It was just entertaining stuff.
I totally forgot about that SNL bit. You're right. I think at least maybe some inspiration is coming from that. Mm-hmm. I really like Peter's new gimmick too. I'm glad he's shedding the whole librarian thing, and I can't remember, what was he going by? Is it Pretty Peter Avalon? Is that his new thing?
Well, I think that's originally what he was before he was the librarian. So he might be going back to a gimmick that, we would have never seen before. But I've heard that Pretty Peter Avalon before.
Okay. yeah, I mean, go back to, what worked before. I like it. Yeah, I think it's going to be good for him.
For sure. And then we get into a really vloggy. Not that that's a bad thing, but we kind of get to some classic BTE doing the vlog thing. We get to see Nick and Matt Jackson getting their nameplates put on the AEW titles. They bury FTR a little bit as they come on, get those names off those belts, and stuff like that. They really put the gears there to Dax and Cash. And then we get a little bit of prankery in the part of Sammy Guevara here. What did you think of Sammy's little prank on Nick Jackson here? I thought it was really clever, and I loved seeing the BTE point of view, and then a little bit later in the week we get to see Sammy's vlog point of view of the same situation. I thought it was really cool how these kind of all just melted together.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a very cool concept. I think what it really shows is how the roster, like they all get along and they know each other, and sometimes we, like in vanilla, you don't see that. Like, does Undertaker actually hang out with Bailey? Like, did they talk or that kind of stuff? And you'd almost think they don't, because
Right.
Those people are different worlds, considering one is dead and whatnot. But yeah, so it was good to see these two guys together and the two vlogs together. What I didn't quite get is, like, did Nick think this was an actual thing? Like, that bell looked uber fake.
Well, so while the bit was going on, and I'm like, these guys are doing a really bad job at acting. But then the way Nick reacts, all of a sudden he's freaking Brad Pitt. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
His acting of him, like, oh, you little shit. You know what I mean? Like, you totally had me. And it's just like, okay, that seemed really genuine all of a sudden. So I'm still out to lunch on if Nick was truly being ribbed here, or if it was all just an elaborate bit, which is fine too. I was still entertained by the whole thing. But yeah, I loved how both YouTube channels kind of came together to show this specific thing, and we got to see it from all different angles. I thought it was really cool. I like what you said about Vanilla Brand though, and I just, a question popped into my head. Do you think the Vanilla Brand could benefit from having a stripped back, more, lighter side of WWE type YouTube channel if they had, say, an Xavier Woods who's very familiar with the ways of YouTube, if he went around and vlogged the backstage area much like BTE does? Do you think WWE would benefit from that, or do you think it would hurt their allure?
I think it would be good. I think people want to relate more to the people they watch on TV. And if you think of like programs like The Voice and the other singing competitions, like the viewers want to relate to those people, and it's why they have those, they show them at home segments and things like that, because that's what's going to get the viewers to vote for those people. So I think if you want to be sort of liked, you need to show a little bit of yourself. I just don't think that Vince would want that. Like,
Yeah.
he wants to have the curtain closed and no one see behind it. So I doubt that would ever happen. But I guess they do have some programming on Vanilla Network where, I guess they have kind of stuff like that. I'm thinking of the car ride.
Yeah.
The car ride one where
Ride along. They
sing songs or something.
Well, yeah. No, I know what you're saying. and,
Carpool karaoke. Is that not one of their segments?
No.
Oh, okay.
You're getting two things mixed up there, but
Okay.
they definitely
okay.
do have the ride along thing, and then table of three, and then even more real is our Truth has like a game show. Ever since the quarantine, he does this web series, where they're talking on Zoom or Skype or whatever, and he quizzes WWE talent about wrestling things, and it's kind of a fun show. But you do get to see that kind of stripped down, not in character view of some of your favorite stars, and I mean there are other options out there, but I think if they got a core group of talent to go along with this and do the the bits and the sketches, I think it would do a world of good for WWE's branding and the likability, because honestly, WWE's not likable right now. If I can be completely honest, they just don't have that, I don't know, that realism to them anymore. But that's just us, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, other than that, BTE was pretty standard. It was pretty mediocre, actually, if we're being completely honest, other than the things that we really talked about. So, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I think the only other interesting thing might be this whole new Matt Hardy character.
Yeah.
That segment went pretty long as well, but it's interesting where Matt Hardy might take his character if this was kind of the beginnings of something. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
I mean, we can talk about that really quick. Matt Hardy is due for something new. His Damascus character kind of hurt from the quarantine. The unfortunate events that all led up, from his debut until now, didn't really work out. He has the big blow-off Elite Deletion match with Sammy Guevara. What's next for Matt Hardy? This is a perfect time for him to try to reinvent himself again. I know it's quick. He was kind of reinventing himself already coming into AEW, but this is a perfect time for him to take it to another level. And we'll see what he does with it. But it sounds like, I don't know, like I think I mentioned it before, where maybe it's just time for Matt Hardy to be Matt Hardy. And I think he's even used those words himself. It'll be interesting to see where he takes it. But I definitely do agree with you that this might be the beginning of something new for Matt Hardy.
And he's kind of a dick.
Yeah, he's a cocky dick is what he is.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into this week's AEW Dark. This is episode 62 of Dark from Daly's Place. There was really, Dark's great. And we have some really great matches, and I think it's a really great vehicle for some young upstart talent to get on TV, or YouTube essentially. But the one thing that I really want to talk about here was the waiting room with Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. This segment just kind of came out of nowhere. Very familiar segment. I mean, we've seen it in wrestling a million times. You got Miz TV, Piper's Pit, the barber shop with Brutus the Barber Beefcake. Jericho. What was Jericho's? Jericho had one. Ambrose's Asylum. Like, there's been a million and one of these talk show type things, and AEW finally getting into that realm. And I think they couldn't have picked a better host for their first one. I think this fits right into Britt Baker's type of character, and I think she's going to kill it. This was definitely just a trial run. It definitely had that feel to it. they're gonna have some tweaks. They're gonna have some improvements to go. But I really liked this Britt Baker segment, and I'm just excited to see what they do with it more. I can't wait to see it on Dynamite.
Yeah, and I think it's a really catchy name too. I like the waiting room. It fits in with the whole dentist office kind of vibe there. So yeah, I think it was a good idea to have it on Dark to try it out. Look at the viewer comments and see what the kind of reaction is, and then tweak it a little bit, and then have it on Dynamite. I think it'll be cool.
Just these talk shows as a whole, I think it's a really clever way. I don't know whose ever idea it was. I believe Piper's Pit was probably the first. I mean, my wrestling history is probably pretty limited considering the age that I am, but Piper's Pit is the one that I remember would be chronologically first. It is such an innovative tool to help progress storylines. You know what I mean? It's an avenue for talent to come in, tell their side of the story that's going on at that point. You can always have conflict. You know what I mean? It's such a creative tool for the spectrum of wrestling. And I'm glad AEW is finally getting into that business.
Yeah, and you're probably right. It's definitely one of the first ones. I think Barbershop was another one back then. But yeah, like, Jericho, The Miz, and even, Mr. Jon Moxley
Yeah,
had one, which you think, what? That guy had a show. But yeah, it's a really cool idea, and you can do a lot with it. Really great place to get people over too.
Yeah, for sure. And some of the greatest moments in wrestling history have happened in part of these segments. You think of Piper hitting who'd he hit with the coconut? I'm blanking. I had it in my head. He's a Samoan.
I can't remember.
He hits him in the head with the coconut. That was a huge thing. You have the Shawn Michaels heel turn on Marty Jannetty in the barbershop. You have Chris Jericho throwing Shawn Michaels through the Jeritron 5000. Mitch the potted plant on the Ambrose Asylum. Like, these are huge, major moments in wrestling history. They happen during these kind of talk show segments. Jimmy Snuka.
Yeah, I was just waiting for you to stop. I was gonna say Jimmy Snuka. Yeah.
It came to me, but the coconut on Jimmy Snuka, it was huge. It was huge thing. So I'm really excited, and like I said, I think Britt Baker, this is perfect for her character. Her character's perfect for this this vehicle of a storytelling. So I'm super excited, and we get our first bit of this as her first guests are TH2. Probably one of the best tag teams that we have in wrestling right now, not being used. This is the perfect, jumpstart for them as they call out SCU, as we see later in AEW Dark, the Jack Evans versus Christopher Daniels. TH2, this is a perfect launching pad for them, and we're definitely going to see more of them.
Yeah. And that's a good thing because again, AEW, touts themselves as being the company that puts focus on tag team wrestling. So these guys got to get on TV. They just got to get on TV.
It's almost criminal that, we'll talk about it a little bit later. This young upstart tag team of Top Flight is getting a tag team title match, but you have awesome contenders in TH2 already, haven't even challenged for the titles yet, and I love Jack Evans, this the lead up to them coming back onto TV and into AEW during the quarantine. They had some awesome promos from their home. The promo that they cut here on the waiting room, it was a little so, but I mean the points that were putting out were still very, very relevant, and I want to see TH2 challenging for the tag team titles. I think they're next in line, and hopefully we get to see that reflected soon.
What did you think about the promo by Jake Roberts and the big man?
Yeah, let's talk about that real quick. This is, Jake and Lance, they've been kind of relegated. They've been kind of relegated to AEW Dark. The push with Moxley kind of had to be changed because of, unfortunately Lance had that run in with COVID. It kind of stalled his push a little bit. Like I said, he's been relegated to Dark, but these two are killing it on Dark. Like these are dynamite worthy promos that we're getting from these two. And I love that. I mean, we've been saying it ever since Jake showed up and how good he is on the mic. And I'm like, we're talking about someone who's dealing with a lung issue right now. But he's still putting forth these awesome. I just love how he does the Enter Sandman prayer. There's probably a proper name for it, but I mean that's what I know it as. It's the Enter Sandman. Now I lay you down to sleep. Pray the Lord my soul to keep, and all that stuff. So and then what Lance goes on to say afterwards is it's just awesome stuff, and it's making me think. It's making me curious of how they're gonna work Lance back into the main event picture, because that's definitely where Lance belongs. He belongs in the main event picture.
Yeah, and we kind of thought that it was going to be Eddie Kingston, Lance Archer, after the whole title shot happened, and now it seems Pac is back and now he's filling that role. So I don't know. I guess some bad luck for Lance Archer, but I mean that's how you get yourself back on the main show is you don't let it bother you and you go out there and you keep working hard, and I mean he's deserving of it. They need to give him some time and give him a story and something to work on, because it's going to be good stuff.
I do like that he is just constantly just beating up people. I think that's the perfect tool for him to get back in that main event picture. Like just keep beating up on jobbers, not even being part of matches per se, but just, someone finishes the match, he comes out, lays everybody out. Eventually they can work it into where, people are going to keep getting hurt until we get what we want. Like that's a really good storytelling, type situation, especially for a character like Lance Archer. So yeah, I like everything that these guys are doing. Keep it up.
Yeah, it was a solid Dark show. Some really good matches, and I think those were the two highlights, the waiting room and in that promo. Kind of sucks to say that all the wrestling goes behind that, but really two of the best highlights from that episode.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, let's keep the show rolling. Let's get right into this week's AEW Power Rankings. These were the power rankings for November 18th, 2020. What did we have? Did we have any changes this week, or what's going on?
Well, this week is not quite like we had last week with all of the changes. There's only a couple really to highlight here. The men's division did not change at all. Somehow Ricky Starks remains at position number 5. In the women's division.
I was totally expecting Sean Spears to be back at number 5 this week, the way he's been prairie dogging in and out.
Right. In the women's division, there's only one change, and I think it's the biggest change of the week, and that is Anna Jay of the Dark Order, Miss 99. I don't know if she's still going by the star of the show, but she's the star in my heart, and she is now at the 5th position in the rankings for the women, and I like it, and I hope she moves up, and we're going to be talking about her later, so maybe we'll just
For sure.
leave it for that. In the tag team rankings, the only change is that bottom, that number 5 position that seems to be the in and out. Butcher and the Blade out of the top 5 now. I think they just made it in last week and now they're out again. And Evil Uno and Stu Grayson are back at the 5th position. And that's all there is for rankings this week.
All right. Well, with that being said, let's get into this week's Wednesday Night Dynamite. All right, this was Wednesday Night Dynamite, November 18th, 2020. Live from Daly's Place. Did you get to catch the opening? You didn't catch it last week. Did you get to catch the new opening? What do you think?
Yeah, I really like it. It's really well done. And you know what I was thinking after last week's show is it makes sense that we're getting new stuff because we're kind of getting into a new year. Right. Yeah, the year started in October and we kind of got to that point. So we get all new graphics. I don't know how often Vanilla Brand does it, but I imagine they're probably changing things up every fiscal year, we'll say.
Right.
But yeah, it's really sharp. I like it.
All right.
And I like how FTR is they're using it in their bits. They're like, yeah, we're not even in the opening credits. Right. That's how disrespected we are around here. I think that's cool.
And they're still not in the opening credits? Is that what you're saying? I didn't even notice. That's awesome.
I didn't notice either.
That's awesome. I mean, it's kind of been the talk of the opening of the shows the last few weeks is how we're getting away from just going right into a match, but we're kind of getting a little bit of a segment, just a little bit of something just before the match. And this week we're getting introduced to Top Flight. We've seen them on Dark the last couple weeks. They're getting their title shot against the Young Bucks. I mean, we talked about this story last week and how this all went in, but this was kind of like just a little introduction to Dante and Darius Martin, real life brothers, 2 years apart, getting their shots against the Young Bucks. What did you think of this little promo package on these guys? It was kind of I don't know, were they trying to tug at the heartstrings a little bit, trying to get us to feel sorry for them or something? Like, it's just like, it wasn't really like a hype video. It seemed a little bit more mellow to me for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes like what I was saying before. It was very much like one of those voice segments where they're highlighting a certain singer or whatever, and it's really a way to, I think, get them over, or a different way to get them over. I mean, I thought it was good. I can't say I was, totally paying that much attention, but I think the way they come to the ring with the zippered hood, with the mask, like, that was the coolest part of that whole thing. It's an interesting name that they have too, Top Flight. I think it's a really cool tag team name. I don't know. It seems different, and it's not lame like some of them can be. So I don't know. What did you think about the package?
I mean, it was fine. Like I said, it seemed a little bit too mellow for me. I think for a young upstart tag team like this, I wanted more hype. I wanted more excitement coming out of this, but this was really, like I said, it was kind of mellow. I like your comparison to The Voice, where let's get some backstory on these guys, and the music was a little softer and stuff like that. It was just, I wanted more hype. Like, I wanted to see highlights of them just doing some crazy shit and stuff like that. Which, I mean, I guess we got a little bit, but I don't know. It was more on the mellow side for me. But that leads into this matchup, Young Bucks versus Top Flight. We talked about it last week, how the Young Bucks, they were talking about how they were given a shot some years ago, and they upset the champions, and it really kickstarted their career. They're giving that same shot to this team. I did not like this match for a lot of reasons. So, I mean, I'm going to let you take the floor here before I go off, but everybody's, again, this is Full Gear all over again. It's that, I mean, excuse my language here, but this is the Young Bucks boner going off all over again. This was a great match just because the Young Bucks were involved. It wasn't that good, and there was a lot of mistakes. But what did you think about it?
Okay. I thought the start was really good. It was really kind of fast paced. There's lots of spots. We were doing everything we were supposed to do, and then it got very robotic, very fast. Like, you could tell there was a lot planned. And you can tell this because they get slow, and you can see on their face they're thinking about what needs to happen next. This was more obviously Top Flight than Young Bucks, but even the Young Bucks were they seemed off. They seemed slow. They seemed tired. So it didn't come off for me. Again, we could be going into this just too hyped of it, like, it should be this type of match, and then when it's not that, it's whatever. But yeah, to me it seemed robotic. It seemed very planned and whatnot. So I don't want to use up all this time where I think you have a lot to talk about here, so go ahead.
I mean, I agree with everything you said there. It was very robotic. I always hated the term spot monkey, but this was a very spot monkey match. It's kind of the modern era of wrestling to have the entire match choreographed. You hear Jericho talking about it's a lost art to call the match in the ring. And I mean, you got to see his point of view when we saw that Jericho Hager versus Luther and Serpentico match. Like, that was called in the ring, and it was a very good match. This was planned from the beginning, from bell to bell, planned every spot to the beat, and it came off that way. Yeah, sure, it was high flying and spectacular, and things were kind of exciting. But what I can't get over watching this match, and let me tell you, I watched the second half of this match 10 times Wednesday night to be sure that I saw what I saw. I watched it 10 times over, and I saw the same thing every time. About 2 minutes left in this match, Matt Jackson tags in Nick. They work the tag team spots. They do all the things. They go through the spots. It runs for, like I said, about a minute and a half. And then all of a sudden, Matt tags in Nick again. They go into the BTE trigger. 1, 2, 3, the match is over. And like, did I just see that? I must have missed something. I let the episode run out. I let it leave my mind. I watch it back again. I see the same thing. Matt Jackson tags in Nick twice without being tagged back in himself. This is when I text you and I'm like, because we always watch it together, but we didn't watch it together this week. I'm like, did you see this? Am I going crazy? You really didn't have, you I don't know if you paid attention that closely. I don't think you saw what I saw. So I go back and I recorded it. I watched it 8 more times and I kept seeing the same thing. Now, the only, I don't know, caveat, I guess you could say, is that maybe this wasn't the live and it was edited. This was pre-shot. It was edited. Someone made a mistake, edited it wrong. Is that an excuse out of this blasphemy? I don't know. I can't get over it. Matt tagged in Nick twice. I can't get over it. And honestly, I've been looking over Twitter for, what has it been? 3 days now. No one's mentioning this. I tweeted it out. I called the Young Bucks out. No one's mentioning this. I tweeted at Cash and Dax of FTR. I'm like, you guys have to have seen this, right? They fucked up. They haven't messaged me back yet. I'm losing my mind. How do you fuck this up?
No one wants to admit it.
No one wants to admit it. I guess that's all it is. And like I said in my tweets, I admit I'm a total mark for AEW. I love everything they do. I love what they represent. But when shit happens, it's my journalistic duty as a podcaster to call them out. Matt Jackson tagged in Nick 2 times in a row. It's uncalled for. Bret Hart is shitting himself right now as one of the greatest tag team wrestlers of all time. You don't do this. You don't do it.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I have to say I didn't notice it. I feel though at the end of that match there was something off there, and I thought maybe it was rhythm. But no, I can't say that I noticed that. And if it's an editing mistake, then we can't really blame the Young Bucks too much on that, but I don't know who approves those edits either. So it got by somebody important. We'd have to think.
Right. And I said that in my tweets too. I had 3 tweets on a thread all together because, you know me. I'm ranting right now. I ranted on Wednesday, but if this was an editing mistake, then fine. But like you said, someone needs to be blamed for this. This is, you guys are touting yourselves as, this is where tag team wrestling lives. We care about tag team wrestling, but then you pull this shit off. I don't know. I can't help but call you guys out. If it's the Young Bucks, if it's an editor, if it's a producer who watched it back and approved it, somebody fucked up here, because I watched it 10 times and I saw it the same way 10 times. Matt never gets tagged back in to tag Nick back in for the finish. Somebody fucked up, and I want to know who.
I'm going to watch it over, see if I can see it.
I'll show it to you. I still got it on tape. I got no audio. I got no audio. I forgot to record the audio, but I got the video. There's
proof. My God. I'm afraid if I go to your house, I'm going to walk into a room kind of like a laces out all over.
There's just strings matching. All over the place.
There was no tag.
All I'm saying is that there's a reason the Young Bucks weren't in the top 10 of the best tag teams of all time, or of this year, because they can't even tag each other in properly. Let's get into the post-match. The Young Bucks win, obviously. the BTE trigger, 1, 2, 3. But then we get TH2 attacking Top Flight outside the ring. The Bucks, drop the titles. They come out to help. I really like this from TH2. This is kind of really building off what we saw on Dark and them calling out SCU going into that singles match against CD, getting the win. I really think TH2 is the next team. I'm liking that that's where it seems to be going. I hope they stick to the plan and TH2 is the next challengers, because these guys are awesome. I really like TH2, so I like this from them.
Yeah, and we should probably expect maybe a match on December 2nd. Bucks versus TH2. That would make that show even more crazy than it's going to be.
For sure. From here, we get into a segment. It's Inner Circle in Las Vegas, building off of what we saw last week. MJF taking the Inner Circle boys to Vegas to celebrate. This is very similar to Le Dinner Debonair. This is very Jericho. I feel like this has Jericho written all over it. I like how it was produced. It was really well done. It was edited properly. You know what I mean? Like things, it flowed. It had a purpose. It told the story it was trying to tell. I loved everything about this and the second part. I just loved everything about it. It was entertaining. I was laughing the whole time. They really knocked this one out of the park.
Yeah, no, I agree. It was. I actually didn't even think they were gonna go to Vegas. Like I just thought it was gonna be, they dressed up a room in Daly's place and we're gonna pretend we were there. But it was done really well. And the only thing that kind of had me going, what is this? Is they're standing on the street and this old man pulls up in a car and gets out. I'm like, who is this guy? Did you know who this guy was?
I knew exactly who that was. It's K-Dog, baby. NWO Wolfpack. Oh no. That was Conan, baby. You didn't recognize him or what?
I didn't recognize him. No. He's looking old. He's looking real old. I know when I was reading up about the show after, I'm like, oh my God, that was Conan. Wow. I did not know what he was talking about. That, he had something that was going to make the night even better, but it made sense in the next shot.
Yeah.
With all the smoke coming out of the car.
They hotbox in the limo. I'm curious of what you thought of this, because weed is legal in Canada now. So, to me, it's not a big deal, but United States is still kind of 50-50. What are your thoughts on AEW kind of approving this, visual weed smoking or intentions, whatever you want to say? Like, we don't see anybody actually smoking the weed, but it's implied. Do you think this is a good call? Do you think it's maybe a risky call, or do you think it just doesn't matter in this day and age?
It's a tough call, because I feel in some respects they're advertising this to kids. Every week on BTE we're in Walmart looking at toys.
Right.
So it's geared towards kids. Now, there are always warnings, at least in Canada on TSN, that viewer discretion is advised. So I don't know. It's really weird. I didn't really feel like it was needed. Seemed like there was an excuse to get Conan on the show. We probably could have done without it, but I guess it's Vegas. Anything goes on in Vegas.
Right. What happens in Vegas ends up on Dynamite the next week, right? So
Right. That's a good way to put it.
But this was part one. We'll get back to it in a second here. From here, we go to Jon Moxley pulling off one of these Jon Moxley promos that only Jon Moxley can pull off. This one was, I don't know, it was a little more down to earth, a little more heartfelt, as he's talking about his relationship with his dad and really talking about the tough upbringing that he went through in the mean streets at the wrong side of the tracks of Cincinnati and all this stuff. And then in amongst all of this, you know, real talk, we get some real talk as he ever so subtly slips in that he's got a pregnant wife at home, and the internet loses their fucking minds. What did you think of, I mean, obviously with Renee's permission, but the announcement that Renee is pregnant on AEW television? What did you think of? What did you think of this? Did you lose your mind, much like the rest of the internet, or did you just think it was a cool way to do it?
I didn't lose my mind. I was just like, oh wow, that's really great for them. But again, I come from a place where I know that wrestling is not real, and these are actual real people who do real things. So I wasn't shocked by it by any means, but more just, hey, great for them. From an announcement point of view, I really feel like this is what Jon Moxley sees the business being. It's his entire being. And for him to, hey, we could post, us wearing a t-shirt that says, whatever,
Right.
and post it online. No, he puts it in a promo, and he says it ever so subtly in beneath, other things, all this sort of deep stuff about his upbringing. And like you heard it plain as day, but you kind of do a double take, like did we hear that right? So yeah, no, I thought it was perfect. And it just seems like Renee is just a total supporter of Jon, and this could even have been her idea. So yeah, I thought it was super cool. Did you lose your shit or what?
I mean, I didn't think I heard that right. I had to text you. I was like, pregnant? Question mark. He's like, right? You know what I mean? I was much like, yeah, like I didn't think I heard it right the first time, but when you actually step back and look at the whole situation, this was definitely, I'm not going to say it was Renee's idea, but I mean, she had to have given approval for it. This is the reveal of a very personal thing in your life. And just the fact that she agreed to that, obviously she must have agreed to it, because I don't think Jon would have did it without her approval. Just the fact that she agreed to it just shows how supportive she is, like you said, of Jon's career. I mean, hashtag AEW All Elite confirmed, right? Like, baby Moxley is all elite, essentially.
Yeah. And another Canadian in AEW.
For sure. So yeah, it was really cool. I thought it was a really cool moment. I thought it was one of the most, I don't know, it was one of the most 2020 things to do in wrestling right now, is to have a pregnancy announcement during a promo on weekly television. I thought it was really cool. And I mean, congratulations to Jon and Renee. It's just awesome news. Like, how are you not excited about another life joining the world? So yeah, congratulations to Jon and Renee. From there, we get into another matchup of the night. It's Kip Sabian versus Orange Cassidy. This was something that was teased last week on Dynamite. It was essentially filmed after Full Gear, after Orange's match on Full Gear. But Kip Sabian versus Orange Cassidy. This was I don't know. I wasn't sold on this match. I don't think Kip was a good dance partner for Orange Cassidy in this one. You know, I mean, I guess coming off of how well the John Silver match came out, you know, maybe you're expecting a little bit more, but I mean, it was a fine match. I didn't invest myself into it like I did some other matches. So, what were your thoughts on this match?
I don't remember the match at all, to be honest. I spent most of my time just, you know, when's the camera going to be on Penelope again? Man, did she look good. She looked really good. No, I'm kidding.
do not disagree.
I did watch the match. I think I know what you mean. I wasn't really into it either. I don't think I believed that there was some kind of rivalry here.
Yeah.
Like maybe there just wasn't enough build up to it, but I wasn't believing the tension or anything there. I was quite surprised that this wasn't the comical match that I was probably expecting this to be. I think I was expecting this to be a more goofier type match. And I mean, they had their kind of like little moments there, you know, with Orange putting his hands in his pockets and stuff like that. But, you know, they did get to some wrestling and like they did all the moves great. I don't remember anything botchy. It just didn't capture me.
To me, this should have been Chucky's spot. I mean, I mentioned it when we got to see the Trent versus Miro match. You know, the logical progression of the storytelling is that, you know, Chucky and Kip, you know, then maybe a tag team match with a dirty finish, and then we get Chucky and Miro, Kip and Trent. You know, I don't think Orange had any place in this rivalry. I think putting Orange in this position was a little forced, and I think it translated. Like you mentioned, it was a great match. It was well performed. It just didn't mean anything to me. So I think that's why I kind of tuned out of this match. But it was fine. As we get into the finish, you know, Orange Cassidy does get the win here, keeping him looking strong. As soon as the 1, 2, 3 goes, Miro drops the headset. He was on commentary, runs to the ring, and we get a huge clothesline on Orange Cassidy. Best friends come out, chase Kip and Miro away. But like it's blatantly obvious that the rivalry here is Kip and Miro versus best friends. And I understand that Orange Cassidy is part of the best friends, but to me, they should keep it to Chucky and Trent and maybe leave Orange Cassidy out of this. I don't want them to burn out Orange Cassidy. You know what I mean? They're using him because he is over. I get that. But you don't want to burn the candle from both ends. You know what I mean? Like let's use Orange Cassidy sparingly. Let's you know what I mean? I that's how I feel.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think this should have been Chucky in there. I think a better match actually might have been Miro and Orange Cassidy. Just because you kind of have that David Goliath type thing.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe this match was more about Miro being on commentary in the, you know, the stuff that we see after the ending of this match. But yeah, to me, it doesn't really progress any story for me.
Yeah, it was just kind of whatever. Which is, I mean, wow, big brain thinking. That's the perfect Orange Cassidy segment. It's just whatever.
Yeah, I guess so, right?
Okay, so from here we get into kind of a segment heavy section of the show, but as I think back, and I mean, we had the tag team mix up that I ranted about earlier, and I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really research this as hard as I did the miss tag, but I do believe after that Young Bucks match, they had mentioned that the contract signing was going to be happening next. And then we went through like the inner circle thing, and then we had the Kip match, the Kip Orange match, and now we were getting like, yeah, the contract signing's coming up next. I don't know for sure that's what happened, but I'm pretty sure that's how I remember it happening. So there was another kind of mistake there. We gotta call them out on that. But here we do get the contract signing. Winter is coming. It seems to be the name of this specialty kind of dynamite we're going to see on December 2nd. Very Game of Thrones-ish. The graphics that they were showing on the screen were very White Walkery. I'm not totally in tune with what Game of Thrones is all about, but it seemed very White Walkery. You might be able to shed some more light on that.
Yeah, their graphics seem to have that feel to it where they were frozen. I don't get the whole winter is coming thing. It makes no sense to me, but sure, I guess they got to call it something. So
it's December. Winter is coming.
Christmas is coming. So I don't know.
December, winter's already here, guys. Like figure it out. But this is the contract signing for the big title match coming up. Kenny versus Moxley. Tony Schiavone's out there. He announces he introduces the cleaner, Kenny Omega. I think this is the first time we've actually heard the words the cleaner on AEW television. In direct, accordance to Kenny Omega. So I think this is a pretty big deal. And sure enough, Kenny does his big entrance. He comes out, he's got the suit on, he's got the sunglasses on. To me, I'm agreeing. This is the cleaner. We're finally getting to see, the true Bullet, quotations here, Bullet Club era cleaner of Kenny Omega, which I think is awesome. I've talked about it in the past. Kenny Omega's in this transition period where he's not really full heel yet, but he's working towards it. This is just the next step. He's got the sunglasses back on. We've teased those sunglasses before on BTE and Dynamite and whatnot. So, I'm just super pumped that, the cleaner essentially is here now. And I can't wait to see how deep Kenny gets into the heel side of his character.
Yeah. I was pretty shocked that it actually came out for something like this. And if the internet wasn't losing their crap over the whole Jon Moxley having offspring, it was definitely about Kenny being called the cleaner. So people are pretty pumped up about this.
So right after Kenny comes and takes a seat at the table, Tony Schiavone introduces Moxley. The music hits, and nothing. There's that very, what's the word? Stereotypical awkward silence as Kenny and Tony share some looks like, what's going on? And then we go backstage and we see the medical staff is attending Jon Moxley's knocked out on the ground, belt still perfectly placed over his shoulder. Thought that was a little weird. Who falls perfectly with the, you know what I mean? But yeah. It's television, whatever. I'll give that a break. Essentially Moxley attacked backstage. We don't know who. We got another who's done it. How do you feel about AEW kind of tapping this well so soon, especially after the Matt Hardy, situation with Sammy attacking him backstage. It was another kind of whodunit type deal. They paid that one off pretty quickly. I mean, I guess they're gonna really have to pay this one off pretty quickly too, since winter is coming. 2 weeks away at this point. What would you think of them going back to this trope so quickly?
I mean, I didn't quite see it like that myself. My initial thought was, well, this was Kenny Omega, when he was coming out. He's the cleaner. He did his job. He cleaned it and put it to bed. And it needed to be this because it led into Kenny grabbing the mic and saying, like there just always seems to be something with Moxley. The first time it was his elbow, and now he's got a bloody nose, and like what's it gonna be next? Like this match is happening, so
Right.
Winter is coming. So I really feel like this isn't going to be a murder mystery. This was Kenny.
I mean, I agree with you. I totally think this was Kenny. I think it would be an insult to try to insinuate that it was anybody else. But I mean, we'll see how they handle it in the next coming weeks. Depending on where they take this and how they try to drag this out, could really hurt this situation. But I mean, if we see next week that there's like some in-hall security footage and we actually get to see the attack where it is Kenny and they just blatantly tell us, then it's fine. But if they try to hold off this reveal until December 2nd, and we actually, then it was like, oh, it was me all along, then it's kind of corny and dumb. But I mean, if we get to see next week on Dynamite, it was actually Kenny doing the attack, then I think it all works.
Yeah.
And I mean, it'll be that moment, that perfect moment. It would be an interesting way to complete this heel turn for Kenny. Because like I said, he is kind of in transition. He's kind of flip-floppy. I mean, I like this new Kenny. He's wearing a suit. He's not in gym shorts and a t-shirt anymore. He's got the sunglasses back. To me, it's the sunglasses. The sunglasses just sell the whole thing. But I think he needs to keep this up. I think Kenny needs to keep this up.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. From here, we get into Inner Circle in Las Vegas Part 2. I really didn't make this connection when I initially watched this, but I was listening to another podcast and they kind of made the reference. And I was just like, oh, yeah, I guess that is what they were doing. I hated this movie, but they were really... Inner Circle is really doing the Hangover gimmick here, and it is what it is, but whatever. We're drinking on a rooftop with Elvis, and then the night fades away and we wake up the next morning and everybody's hungover and nobody remembers what's going on. Elvis is in bed with Jericho. MJF is passed out in a bathtub. He wakes up. He finds Sammy Guevara ass deep in a fountain. Ortiz is on drugs, working out. You know what I mean? Like, then we fast forward. We got Jericho and Hager walking down the hall, and they find Santana feeding chickens in a room. And I mean, this is just. I don't know. Like, I enjoyed this segment. I felt it really embodied, what we saw earlier in the night. There was a lot of drinking. There was a lot of substance abuse, we'll say. And, this is the outcome. And I thought everything about this was really funny.
Yeah, I was actually in Las Vegas at the beginning of this year, and I did not have this experience. I'm quite disappointed that, I wasn't feeding chickens in the hallway at the hotel room. It was weird for me, but now that you say that, they're kind of playing off the Hangover movie, then yeah, it kind of makes sense. This, sort of craziness, Ortiz working out and, just this imagery of madness the next day. Especially the ending of this. What did you think of the ending of this segment?
So we hear some like crying. We hear crying, and Jericho very tentatively opens up the door next to Santana, and we see Hornswoggle himself in a diaper, still rocking his AJ Styles haircut. I think he got so over from being mini AJ that he just can't live it down, and he's just milking it for all he's got, but he's still rocking the AJ Styles soccer mom haircut. I thought that was funny, but I mean, this is very much what we saw at Full Gear with, Shane Helms, Hurricane Helms, Gangrel. It was just, yeah, let's throw this person in here and it'll be kind of funny and stuff like that. So, I mean, I'm fine with it. It makes sense that this wild and crazy night that Inner Circle has, of course, Hornswoggle's going to be there in a diaper crying. Why not?
It makes sense.
It makes sense. You know what I mean?
Now, do you think it would have been cool if Tyson was a part of this?
So, yes. Now, once I realized that it was the Hangover, that was what they were going for. Mike Tyson was very much a part of that first movie. He was very much part of the whole franchise. I thought the movie sucked. I didn't watch the other two. That's neither here nor there. But being that Tyson has this history with AEW, who's part of Double or Nothing, we were supposed to get this, rivalry with Chris Jericho. It hasn't worked out yet. I thought this was an opportunity missed, that Tyson wasn't a part of this in some way. I mean, the guy lives in Vegas. He had to have been available. I understand he's got a fight coming up with Roy Jones Jr., but wouldn't this not be perfect publicity to cross promote the boxing match? AEW, let's get everybody on board. Let's have Tyson there. Like, I think it was a missed opportunity. Now, with that being said, could they not add that in afterwards? Like next week, we get to see part 3 of the Inner Circle in Vegas. Like, that could still be a thing. Maybe we have yet to see Mike Tyson, but yeah, no, I think it was an opportunity missed.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. From there, we come back to Jacksonville. Jericho's on commentary. I thought this whole thing was weird. Just coming out of this segment, Jericho's on commentary. He's talking about how he has a headache. He's basically there just to promote that him and Hager have this match coming up against SCU, and then he's gone. It just felt weird. You're here. This is what's happening next week, and I'm done for the night. And yeah, I don't know. I didn't like it. I think Jericho should have at least stayed and maybe commentated on the next matchup. Of course, the next matchup being the Blade versus Pac. Of course, it makes more sense that Eddie Kingston's there for commentary, but just the way the show's flowing at this point, like I'm almost mad. Like I don't get what they were trying to do here. I think it would have made more sense just to leave the Inner Circle in Vegas segment as it was. Jericho doesn't need to be a part of this. That's just me.
Yeah. Or maybe do an interview in the back rather than him being on commentary.
That's a good point.
That was a bit weird.
Yeah, it's just awkward and out of place. But as I said, the next matchup, this leads into the next matchup, the Blade versus Pac. We're going to get Eddie Kingston on commentary. This is all building off of what we saw last week at the end of Dynamite. This is Pac's big return. He hasn't wrestled in 270 some days, as they say, basically 8 months. What did you think of this match? I think the Blade was a perfect dancing partner, if you will, for Pac. It was hard hitting. This was we got some story going on with this match. Coming off of what we saw last week in the Pentagon Ray match. I thought this whole segment as a whole was really well done. The match was thought out, performed to perfection.
Yeah, you're right. They are really good dance partners, and one thing that I really like about Pac as a wrestler is that the tempo of his matches are not linear. He's fast, then he's slow. He's fast and then he's slow. Like just the subtle things, like he was on the mat there, and then he like pulls himself up with the ropes, and he's looking at the camera, and his beady eyes through his soaking wet Roman Reigns hair, and then he goes back into a few more moves. Like he is just a master at that. So there was a couple of awkward moments there towards the end, but yeah, overall, I really liked it. I liked that the bunny got involved at one point, and this brought in the butcher. So we were getting this kind of, 3-on-1 type of a mentality. But yeah, really solid match. Pac ends up winning it, who I think we probably would have picked him to win this in his first match back anyways, so it made sense.
Yeah, I think it would be a complete burial of Pac if he comes back after 8 months and then loses to the Blade. But yeah, Eddie Kingston on commentary I thought was really he did a good job as always. He's continuing this kind of weird feud that he has with Tony Schiavone on commentary. I like that that's keeping going. But this is as much as this was about Pac's return and his first match back in 8 months, this is all about what happens afterwards. And Pac gets on the mic right away. He's looking at Eddie Kingston, commentary making that point. And I can't 100% remember, but does Pac even get a full sentence out? And he gets attacked by the butcher from behind. A whole brawl ensues. Eddie Kingston makes his way to the ring to join in on the fun, if you will. Ray Phoenix comes out for the save, building on what we saw last week. Ray Phoenix can't really do much. He's not really helping. He's also getting his ass kicked by Butcher, Blade, and Kingston. This is when Penta comes out, chair in hand, and we have that. No disrespect or pun intended, but we get the Mexican standoff. Who's he gonna hit?
I did not know you were going there.
But we get the standoff. Penta's got the chair in hand. Is he gonna hit Pac? Is he gonna hit Ray? Or is he gonna join forces with his former Death Triangle brethren and go after Eddie Kingston? Sure enough, he goes after Eddie Kingston. There's, I think this moment was a little rushed. I think they could have milked this a little bit longer, but it was an awesome moment. It was a I don't know. It was a tense filled moment, and I really enjoyed it. Am I happy that Death Triangle's back together? No, but I like that. I think it's Excalibur refers to them as Triangulo de la Muerte. I think that's better than Death Triangle. So please keep referring to them in Spanish. I think it's way cooler. But I guess essentially Death Triangle's back. It's going to be Pac and the Lunch Brothers and this feud going forward with Eddie Kingston and the Familia being Butcher and the Blade and the Bunny. So I think this is a really cool dynamic. between these two trios. And I mean, if we can dip into the rumor mill here, I've heard that much like ROH, AEW might be looking at bringing in a 3-man tag team championship belt. And I think that this is a really good rivalry, being Death Triangle and the Familia. That would be a great first kind of feud, and the winner of this will be those inaugural triple tag team champions.
Wow. Okay. First, can I get Phil in the production truck just to roll back what I had said last week about this whole situation, and we'll just listen for a moment there. And there you can see what I said was that this was all going to be up to Penta. Penta need to make a choice whether he was going back to, I'm not even going to try to say it in Spanish, so I'm going to say Death Triangle, or is he going to stay with the Familia?
Yeah.
I knew it had to come to that. It's the only thing that made logical sense. So yeah, I was totally pumped about this. I agree with you. I think it was too obvious that he was going to go after Kingston with it. They needed to tease it more. Like, I think he needed to, like, maybe, you know, pick up Ray, like really square him up. Like, I don't know, like you really thought maybe he was going to hit him. But I thought it was a really cool moment. And just to comment on the rumor about the, what did you call it? Triple tag belts?
Yeah, 6-man tag belts is what they're called in ROH, I think. But
okay, I've never heard of that. Yeah, that's a neat idea. I guess that means that we'd have to see more teams,
more trios at least. Yeah.
This would be good for Dark Order.
Yep.
Because they have, you know, at least the 2 tag teams in that group right now. So if they could, you know, you get 10 and 5 and somebody else going, that would be good. Or 10 with Uno and Grayson. Oh, that's a deadly teaming.
I mean, if we're talking about this really quick, we already have a ton of trios in AEW. You know, we got the Familia now. We got Death Triangle. We have SCU. We got Dark Order. Can have any form of them. We got the Gun Club. You know, Nightmare Family. They could have a trio. We've been seeing a lot of 6-man tags on Dark. You know, guys like Risen, and I wanted to say Mustafa Ali, but he's Vanilla Brand. Isn't there a Mufasa in there somewhere? Anyways, there's a lot of trios in AEW, and I think I don't think it's coincidence that this rumor is coming out, especially after this kind of pivotal moment between you know, Eddie Kingston and Pox, you know, reestablishing the Death Triangle and stuff like that. So I think it's all making sense. I hate 6-man tags. Am I excited for this? No, but I don't know. I don't want.
I think what really sucks about it is like the women's belt gets no play at all on the show, but they're gonna bring in more belts,
right?
And then you got to give them time. So I just think it sucks for the women, but is what it is.
Let's talk about the women's as we get right into this next segment. We kind of get that rushed camera backstage. Jade Cargill has a chair, you know, has Brandy's arm stuck in a chair. We got Nyla Rose and Vicky Guerrero holding back the officials. We we mentioned this in Breaking Kayfabe as we talked about Jade Cargill and kind of her impact in what's going to be happening in Dynamite. You know, I think this really fits, and this is a good way to introduce her into the physical aspect of joining AEW, as we got the promo the week before. Now she's getting involved as she, I mean, kayfabe literally breaks Brandy's arm in this chair. But again, I have to bring it up. You got someone attacking Moxley, you know, a month out of somebody attacking Matt Hardy in the backstage. Then you have FTR attacking Matt Jackson's knee with the chair, and now we're seeing Jade Cargill do the same thing to Brandy. Do you feel like there would be a more creative way for this introduction, or is wrestling, you know, kind of to that point where we've seen everything and really what else is there to do here?
Yeah, that is a fantastic point. I never thought about it quite to that degree, but then again, I'm so mesmerized by Jade Cargill that that's all I was kind of really looking at. I actually it wasn't until almost the end of the segment I noticed Nyla Rose was there. I didn't even notice Vicky was a part of it. So, yeah, I think it's tough. I think it'd be tough to come up with new things, but that's where I think your staff, your people that are part of creative, like, you need to get somebody in there that isn't maybe of a wrestling mind and say, like, we need to create some conflict. We need wrestler A and wrestler B. You know, the idea is one is obstructing the other. What would you think? And then, you know, have that non-wrestling mind come up with, you know, something there, something different, something fresh. For the wrestling mind, it's what we've kind of been ingrained in from, you know, the WWF days of, you know, what do you see in the backstage? Well, you know, what's the newest, freshest thing we saw? Braun Strowman threw a, you know, whole backstage frame onto Roman Reigns, which looked super fakey and was a brutal segment. But I don't know.
I like what you're saying by bringing somebody in. I mean, Tony Khan, I'm available. If you guys have ideas, you just want to throw them by me, I can recall the entire history of AEW. I can tell you how long ago you already did that, you know, just to space things out a little bit better. I think that would be a job that somebody could do. You know what I mean? Like literally, two instances in one episode of Dynamite have literally just happened within the last month. I guess that's where, I mean, we see the chair spot. And I mean, it's ironic. We can go back. Even before all this, I think I've told you this. I mean, we don't see the leg in the chair spot very often anymore, you know. And now essentially we saw it twice in 1 month. I just think somebody needs to just continuity wise, just pay attention to how often we're doing these kind of, you know, wrestling tropes in a way, just to space them out a bit. Like when they're happening this quickly, especially when there's so many different ways to do things, it's a little odd. But overall,
what do you think about the you know, having Jade, Nyla, and Vicky?
I mean,
as like together.
I mean, essentially, I mean, we don't have official proof yet, but I mean, we're assuming that Jade Cargill is a part of the Vicious Vixens. And I mean, after the weird, awkward moment at the end of Full Gear, at the end of the women's title match, and we have this like chastising of Nyla Rose from Vicky, and Nyla Rose not really I mean, Nyla Rose really just like cowering and putting her tail between her legs, as we said in the review show. I mean, an introduction of a new dynamic being Jade Cargill, it might help it. We'll be yet to see, but I'm gonna give it a chance. I mean, I think Jade could really benefit, being as green as she is, could really benefit from having Vicky behind her, being that mouthpiece kind of deal, help ease her into a spotlight as bright as dynamite. So, but what I really like about this segment is that they're showing us that the women's division does matter, and this is going to be the start of something big for the women's division. This is kind of the reintroduction into a story. You know, we'll see where it goes, but I think this is a small step, but a necessary step in reintroducing the women's division back onto Dynamite. Because, I mean, much like you said, like it's we're talking about bringing in 6-man tag belts, but you know the women's belt's not even getting any love lately. And then this leads into the next segment, the next match being the NWA Women's Championship on the line on Dynamite. No, this is a topic that is very much of discussion in the wrestling world, in the podcasting world. The NWA Women's Championship getting more love than the AEW Women's Championship. I personally don't see it like that. I'd love to know how you feel about this, but the fact that the NWA Women's Championship has been getting the love or the treatment that it has is more so about bringing together the two companies than it is favoring NWA over AEW's women's belts. That's how I feel. So I'm interested to see how what your thoughts on this are.
I mean, Serena Deeb is all elite. She is AEW, and she just happens to hold a belt from another promotion. Thunder Rosa's contract will be up soon, and I feel like there's a very likely chance that she will be in AEW. So the color, the what's on the belt that comes to the ring really doesn't matter. It's about highlighting the female talent that we have in the company. And if we're really gonna, you know, complain or talk about something, it would be like, well, why doesn't Sheeta have a storyline? Because if she did, then it makes sense for her to have a match. But this is the biggest thing in women's division right now in AEW is Deeb and Rosa. Like, it's what I want to see. Right. So I think it's still good.
Yeah, like I said, like I don't think this is so much about showing the NWA Championship more favoritism than the AEW Women's Championship. I think this is more so really highlighting this working relationship between the two companies. I mean, this goes back to what I predicted for Full Gear. You know, maybe the belt should have changed hands. Maybe Nyla Rose should have the AEW Women's belt now, because it seems like, if we're being honest, Nyla Rose has a bigger part of the show than Sheeta does. Especially now that she's holding the officials back for the new star, Jade Cargill. You know, that title change at Full Gear maybe brings the AEW Women's Championship back into relevance a little bit. I mean, Sheeta, awesome performer, can't put her over enough, but you know, with the lack of AEW women's talent, you know, in the pool, you know, yeah, it's sad, but it's true that championship has kind of fallen by the wayside. fortunately for AEW, they do have this working relationship with NWA. And, you know, we're kind of getting that. We're working our way back and getting that women's division more prominent. I just don't feel like everybody online that are chastising AEW for not showing their home championship love is really warranted when they're just attacking it at a different angle, is how I feel.
Yeah, I agree.
So let's talk about this match. This is Serena Deeb defending the NWA Women's Championship against Thunder Rosa. This is the second time they've matched up. This is the second time on AEW. This was, you know, a rematch of the NWA match where Serena Deeb, essentially this is Deeb versus Rosa 3.
Technically, yeah.
Technically. So, I mean, I never did get a chance to see the match where the title did change hands. I'm sure it was spectacular. The first match we saw on Dynamite was spectacular. This match was spectacular. I cannot put over Serena Deeb enough. She's a ring general. I mean, we've heard that term referred to many wrestlers over the years. Serena Deeb is a ring general, and she really commands, you know, what happens in the ring. You can tell that she is the one dictating the pace and stuff like that. It's something that I noticed while I watched this match. Overall, this match was really good, but it had one really giant blemish on it. Before we talk about that, what did you think of this match?
Yeah, I thought this was a really great match. And what I was actually thinking while watching this is, I wonder if this was the match that they had in NWA. Like, are they just redoing this match for a possibly different audience? Not that it seemed robotic and choreographed in any way, but just how technical it was. Like, there's a lot of groundwork at the very beginning, and I don't know. I just had this feeling like I just wondered if maybe they're just redoing that kind of same match. I was predicting that the title wasn't gonna change that night, and yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it was really good. Do you think that there's a possibility that we saw the match we hadn't seen?
I mean, I think that's very possible. NWA doesn't have the most, you know, enormous audience that maybe they deserve. So I think that would be a really good tool. Like, you know, everybody's probably wondering how this title changed hands in the first place. Well, let's show them that match and then just change up the ending a little bit. I think it's definitely a possibility. I understand what you're saying. The match did seem familiar. You know what I mean? I didn't get to see the NWA match where the title does change hands, as I mentioned earlier, but there was a sense that there was a familiarity to the rhythm of this match. So I definitely a possibility. But let's talk about Britt Baker and her involvement in this match. I didn't like this. I liked it when it happened. Britt Baker comes out, she attacks Thunder Rosa. Reba's got the ref's distraction, but then Serena Deeb comes in and it's a false finish. Rosa kicks out. The match goes on for like another 5 minutes. To me, that makes the Britt Baker spot make no sense whatsoever. If Britt comes out, attacks Rosa, 1, 2, 3, the end, this is a really good spot, and I like it. It sets up Rosa to go into a feud with Britt Baker. Serena Deeb's still the champion. Everything's cool, but they kind of completely bury Britt Baker here in a way. as we get into the finish, Rosa comes to, and we get the big pull apart with Britt. It was like either do one or the other. You know what I mean? Either Britt Baker comes out, interferes 1, 2, 3, or Rosa attacks Britt Baker after her loss. It's one or the other for me. What are your thoughts on Britt Baker's involvement in this match?
Yeah, I totally see what you mean there. How it makes a lot more sense if we get the distraction, costs her the match, and then now we have a feud between Britt and Rosa. But yeah, doing it this way, it's just like, yeah, well, what was the point of all of that? And the only thing I can think of is it kind of shows, well, Thunder Rosa can overcome, this sort of being attacked or whatever. She's that tough. But yeah, I agree with you. I think it should have cost her the match, and then leave it there. Maybe it goes to Brit like laughing in the crowd, and then we get something next week to further it along. I think that would
Right.
be better.
Yeah, I think that would make more sense. But all in all, it was a good match. I mean, the match itself is really great. Like I said, against that one little blemish of Britt Baker being involved, but it's a great match. If you guys haven't checked it out, check it out. From here, we get a backstage segment with John Silver and Anna Jay, basically explaining that Brody Lee has gone to TK directly and demanded that Anna Jay get a title shot at the AEW Women's Championship. This again, just what we've been building since the Jade Cargill spot. That the women's division does matter. We're gonna get an awesome matchup coming up next week as Anna Jay, less than a year in the business, is gonna get an AEW Women's World Title shot her first week into the top 5. What are your thoughts on this match happening so quickly for Anna Jay?
I think it's really good. I think she deserves it. She is one of those wrestlers, like we've commented on the show before, that worked all the way through the pandemic. I don't remember a time where she wasn't there. Was she wrestling every week? Not at the beginning. But since she's joined the Dark Order, she's always on the show. I don't remember her not being on the show every week in some capacity, whether it's wrestling or coming out with the Dark Order or something like that. And now she's kind of a staple on BTE as well. So she's proved that she's athletically capable to do this. She's had some really good matches, and we've seen how Shida has not had the chemistry with some of the ladies in the company, and size wise, these two match up pretty well. They're both athletic. I'm expecting a really good match out of these ladies.
Yeah, I'm super excited about this matchup coming up, and I mean, from what I've said in the past, especially leading up into the Full Gear predictions, I'm not going to be surprised if they put the strap on Anna Jay here. It might seem a little out of the blue. Number 5 contender kind of slaps the whole ranking system in the face, but I think the women's division really needs some kind of shakeup. It needs some kind of real spark. Being that Anna Jay is a part of the Dark Order, they can do this dirty to where it doesn't really hurt Shida in any way. I'm giving it a 3-1 chance that Anna Jay will be the next AEW Women's Champion. I really think it would do the entirety of the women's division a whole like a lot of good. It doesn't have to be a spectacular reign. It doesn't need to last, months and months and months. But I think it's that shakeup that it needs. It gets Dark Order back into relevance after Brody Lee losing the TNT belt. There's a lot of upsides to Anna Jay winning this match.
Okay. Well, that's totally plausible. I think I don't think I would like her with the belt right now. I think actually Jade Cargill would make more sense to maybe take it away from Shida. I think I would like to actually have Tay Conte dictate this match in the result. Like maybe Anna Jay is going to cheat. Tay Conte comes out to stop her because she doesn't believe in it or whatever.
Right.
Maybe Shida gets a friend in Tay Conte. I think that'll actually be good for Shida to maybe even possibly be in a tag, and then Shida drops it to someone else.
I like that too.
I think both could work out.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But the great thing is that they have a lot of options. So
Options
give them some
upon
time.
Options, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. From here we got into next week on Dynamite. We're gonna get Chris Jericho and Jake Hager versus CD and Frankie Kazarian. We're gonna see Shida versus Anna Jay for the AEW Women's Championship. Pac and Ray Phoenix versus Burcha and the Blade. That's gonna be an awesome match. And also we find out that Will Hobbs will be in action, which we'll talk about soon. Leading into this, we get another Darby Allin video. I mean, just classic Darby Allin here. Was he setting himself on fire? I can't even remember what happened in this. It's all the same.
He was on fire, yeah. Yeah, he was on fire. I'm like, that can't be good. But that's what he does. So
that's what he does.
These are kind of not making sense when they're not about something. Like at least the one with Cody, there's someone wearing a Cody mask and it means something. So I don't get what we're learning out of this, but I guess it's just an intro for the next match.
Yeah, for sure. And which is Darby Allin, new AEW TNT champion, teaming up with former TNT champion Cody, going up against Team Taz, Brian Cage and Ricky Starks. Now, this match was really, really good. For Cody and Darby really not being, essentially rivals, but tag teaming, they worked really well together. Darby Allin working with Brian Cage, working with Ricky Starks. Those dynamics shifted properly depending on who was in the ring at the same time. You know what I mean? Like Brian Cage really imposed his size, but then Darby really put it back over on Ricky. Like everything worked really well in this match. I liked everything about it, but this finish, I'm confused by. This finish was very, very vanilla. It had a very vanilla taste in my mouth. And again, I'd like to know what you thought about this. Of course, I'm talking about Brian Cage getting a clean 1-2-3 pin on the newly crowned TNT champion of Darby Allin. I feel like that's a mistake.
Okay. I actually thought it was awesome. I thought that Brian Cage was the man of this match. I'm getting more towards liking Team Taz. I like the whole we're disrespected and all of those things. And I thought it was good. I don't think it makes Darby Allin like weak in any way because this was a tag match. If maybe it was a singles match, it would have been, really not making any sense. I do see what you mean though. but I don't know. I liked it. I just think maybe it's just because I'm a fan of Brian Cage. I think we need to see more of him. I thought he was the man of this match. I actually don't even remember how it finished. Did Darby jump off the top rope and get caught into a drill claw? Is that how it ended?
Brian Cage had him up on the top ropes on his shoulders and did the avalanche drill claw.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, if I could defend myself here for a second, I just think Cody taking this pin doesn't hurt Cody at all, but Darby being a new champion, it hurts him more. You know what I mean? Like there's no reason for Cody not to take the fall in this match. That's kind of where I'm looking at it. I think Team Taz definitely wins this match. Like I agree with that. I just don't like the new champion taking the fall. Now, it all depends on how they follow it up, right? I've said that before. If this follows up into a singles match between Cage and Darby, which is a logical spot now, Cage has the victory over Darby essentially, but then Darby fights through and finds a way to win over Cage, then it's fine. But yeah, I don't know. I still think Cody needs to take the fall on this one. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, I know. I totally see what you mean there. Yeah, I can't even remember where Cody was when all this was going down.
Man, he's selling something. I don't know.
He's ordering a pizza or something.
He was ordering a pizza. Pizza Man. No,
Pizza Man.
Fucking Silver. Okay, let's go back to BTE for a second. When Silver starts doing the Pizza Man thing, and Orange Cassidy is like, "No, I don't like that." That made me laugh. Yeah. Let's talk about the end of the show here, because Team Taz gets the 1, 2, 3, and they continue to go to work on Darby and Cody, and Will Hobbs comes out to save the day. So it seems, I said this on Twitter. I've been watching wrestling a long time, and there's very, very, very few things that actually legitimately surprise me in wrestling. Some things are surprising, but I see where they were going, and I can kind of explain what the thought process was. But this is one of those few times that I was literally surprised and shocked of what happened in wrestling. This being Will Hobbs out there to save the day. He picks up the FTW championship and looks at it like, yes, this is what I'm coming after. I'm coming after you, Cage. And then he just absolutely decks Cody with the title. And it's, I don't know, it was one of those moments like I didn't see it coming. And I have no explanation on why. It was a feeling that I haven't felt in a really long time, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed this. Will Hobbs, a part of Team Taz. What are your thoughts?
I was as shocked as you were. My jaw hit the floor, but I think it's totally awesome. This whole main event was probably like the biggest part of the show. Mm-hmm. It gave me, the biggest pops. Again, we could debate on the whole, who should have taken the fall, but these are the types of moments that we watch wrestling for, and they did it with perfection. And you have this guy, like I don't know how long Will Hobbs has been doing this, but I mean, he played this like a pro. Mm-hmm. He comes out, he grabs a belt, he, is looking at Cage going, I'm taking this from you. And then turns around. Like, this was Hogan-esque. This was Hollywood Hogan-esque.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was very cool.
And I mean, honestly, that might be the last time that I was legitimately surprised by something was Hogan and Bash at the Beach. Like it's wild stuff. I think it's awesome. I think it's the build when you just look at the whole Will Hobbs story as a whole. I think they performed this to perfection. And I can't wait to see where they take this, where they run with it. It was an awesome way to cap off this week's episode of Dynamite, and it makes me wondering and wanting to see what happens next. Can't wait for next Wednesday.
So Cody, Will Hobbs next week.
It's got to happen. It's got to happen.
Writing itself. Yeah.
With that being said, it was an awesome week of AEW wrestling. I mean, you can tell by the conversations we have that it was an enjoyment to watch. Besides the absolute botchery of the Young Bucks, I can't bury them enough. I never thought I'd say those words, but you can't make that mistake, and I'd love to know the backstory. Was it an editing mistake? Was it a lapse in there? Who was the legal man? But yeah, I can't get over that. I can't get over it. He tagged Nick in twice. I'm sorry.
You'll get over it.
I'll get over it, but thanks for listening, everybody. Of course, you can catch us on wherever you get your podcasts from, be it Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or more. If you guys enjoyed the show, jump on Anchor, leave us a voice message. If you leave us something cool, we'll put you over on the show next week, of course. With that being said, thanks for listening. We'll catch you all next week. Peace out.
Peace.
Go fuck yourself, Cornette, even though I totally agree with you that the Young Bucks are trash. Peace.
You did sound like Cornette tonight.